Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
Hey, Money Man.
Hey, Money Man.
Hey, Money Man.
Hey, Money Man. Hey, Money Man.
Hey, Money Man.
Hey, Tony.
Hey, Tony.
Hey, Tony.
Tony, hi.
Hey, Tony.
Hey, Tony.
Yeah, hey, Tony.
Hey, Tony.
Hey, Tony, I have a question.
Tony, got a question.
Hey, Tony, I just have a quick question for you.
Questions. What in the world are savers to do for answers to their questions? Well, let's find out.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the Worry-Free Retirement, with your host, best-selling author and fiduciary, Tony Walker.
Why would anyone ever ask a question about a subject or topic? Well, that's pretty easy because we assume if someone asks a question, they are looking for an answer, hopefully the correct one. Yet, with all of the questions we humans drum up each day regarding a plethora of all sorts of topics and subject matter, is it any wonder that today, with all of the many resources available at our fingertips, the correct answers to our many questions are not easy to find, or at least verify if they are correct. And since we must admit that no one person can possibly know everything about every subject, why is it that we so quickly trust others when in some cases they know less than we do? In other words, how do we truly know that the person answering our questions is giving us the correct answer? Well, in many cases we don't. This is why today we're going to expose the fact that there is no way one person, yes, even yours truly, can know all there is to know about money. But unfortunately, when it comes to advice about money, there are boatloads of people out there lurking at every corner who think they do. Well, welcome folks to the Worry-Free Retirement. And yes, I am that little man in the sweater vest, question and answering specialist, Tony Walker. And before we get started answering a bunch of your questions, let me introduce to you not America's favorite financial sidekick, which actually he is here producing the show, but he's not mic'd up. Instead, I've yanked the mic off of his collar and stuck it on the collar of my favorite son-in-law, fellow fiduciary here at Tony Walker Financial, Mr. Trey Juergens. Good morning, Trey.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Good. I'm glad you got up this morning. No sleeping in till 10 o'clock today for you, young man.
Never again, I think, with the girls and Shep, the puppy. So we're up early.
Yeah, it's good to have you with us. Of course, as we record this show on what is today, July 28th, 2021. And it's funny, Aaron and Trey, I had a question the other day. Somebody said, Tony, your shows seem to be way behind. Why is that? Well, what people don't understand is, especially this pandemic taught us this lesson. We record a new show every week, but sometimes we'll record a couple of shows so that in the future, if we had a downtime or you couldn't get into the studio, we'd have those shows done. So yeah, if you listen to the radio show or TV show, there's two reasons we give the date. One of those is in case something crazy has happened in the meantime, the date will be more relevant. And of course, to let you know what the date is, to let you know that we're trying to record these shows well in advance. But on today's show, Trey, the reason I wanted to have you on is you've got, what have you been over, 4.5 years you've been with Tony Walker Financial?
4.5 years full-time, almost 5.
Almost 5.
I started part-time doing some marketing stuff.
Okay. So I'm having you see more and more people, and we'll get into this in a minute when we get into the 401k rollovers and pension completion of paperwork. You're going to talk about this a little later, but isn't it amazing the number of questions we just get? I mean, where would you even start to count the number of questions we get on a daily basis?
Impossible. And that's the interesting thing is the different phases of prospective clients, people that are just kind of out there talking to new financial advisors, broaching the subject of retiring. Maybe their spouse, they've talked about it, but then they go looking for answers in the financial world. And the amount of questions we get, whether it's online, the chat bot, emails, phone calls, I don't know how many phone calls we field every week. It's amazing.
And I know you know a little bit about my past in terms of this business. I got in the business in '84, but probably the most, and Aaron will remember this. In fact, this is how I met Aaron, but probably one of the most intimidating processes I've ever done, and it actually turned out well, and I got to where I really enjoyed it, but was back in 2007. Man, that's dating me. 2007, I landed a gig on a large network here in Louisville, Kentucky, and it was actually a live call-in show.
Pretty awesome.
It was pretty awesome. Every Monday, and I was on there with a well-known celebrity here at this particular station. Again, this was dating us. And what I did, Trey, I would show up, and I looked so forward to it. It was so much fun. But all I would do is I'd show up at the studio. The director would be there, and we'd get all situated, being the host. And it's kind of Aaron's out there, or whoever's running the camera that day. 3, 2, 1, boom, you're on. And the calls would come in. And so I did that for 7 straight years, once a week for 30 minutes. And the number of questions I got, it just reminded me that, of course, we work with savers. Most people, really and truly, if they're honest, most people, when it comes to money, really don't know much about money. Would you agree with that?
I have to agree. I think when I started in this industry, I was one of those people that didn't know much about money. And I think what savers do know is that they need to save, but trying to figure out what to do with it once they've saved it is the biggest question they have.
That's really a good point, Trey. We were talking the other day with a client whose mother, we were laughing about their mother. Their mother's in the 80s now, and said she will not spend money. And I said, well, you've got to understand something, especially that generation, right? That generation, not only had they or their parents gone through the Depression, they've seen what can happen. They had to save so much money. Penny saved is a penny earned. It's hard. But then, like you said, yeah, they were never trained or taught or had anybody they could watch who spent money because their parents didn't spend any money. They just saved it. And that may be you. You may be riding down the road right now or listening to this radio show, and maybe you were one of those folks that a parent died, uncle died, whatever, and they leave you all this money, and they're like, wait a minute, I thought they were almost like paupers. So you're right, though, Trey. But in the old days, folks, as we record this show in 2021, in the old days, savers were rewarded for saving. Have you really thought about that? You go to the bank, 10, 15 years ago, what were bank CDs paying? Do you know?
Gosh, 6, 8, 5.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, good money. So all a saver had to do was work hard, run down to the local bank, toss it in there in a CD. Let's just call it 5%. Let's say they had $200,000. Well, man, that's $10,000 a year. So you take a saver who's retired. Let's take my granddad. Maybe they still had a pension back then. And even if it wasn't much, his was $750 a month or whatever. Throw in a little Social Security. None of those people had debt, right? And then you get, in this example, $200,000 in a CD at 5%. You get $10,000 a year guaranteed. And you can leave the $200,000 when you die. That's pretty worry-free, wouldn't you agree?
It'd be easy to be a retirement planning specialist back in the 70s, 60s,
yeah,
70s.
The problem in the 60s and 70s, there weren't many around because they wouldn't have needed us, Trey. Thank goodness, folks, for low interest rates, because we're seeing a lot of people because of it. But no, seriously, it's really kind of frightening to think that all of these hardworking savers have worked so hard, and we see them coming to the office, and a lot of them are just basically scared to death.
Trying to avoid risk, and now you go to the bank and you put a decimal point in front of those interest rates that you used to see back then, and you're 0.5% on this money. You're looking to not take any stock market risk, and they can't. They're kind of fled to risk.
That's right. Yeah, there are 2 options, really. That's a good point, Trey. You're either going to sit on the sidelines, basically, with your money and get nothing because you're worried about risk, or you kind of just succumb to the follow the herd mentality and go, well, I guess if I'm making money, I've got to take risk, which, folks, neither are very good options for savers. So when we come back, we're going to go through a couple of things that we're doing on our website that's going to be very helpful. We're going to go through some of the common questions Trey's runs into, and we'll explain how a lot of times when I'm in the Louisville office, I meet with all the people and do all the planning and all that, but Trey's doing a great job of when people are ready to move forward. We had several yesterday. Then Trey takes over with our offices in Bowling Green. We call that the onboarding process. And then also, this is going to be a lot of fun, Trey. I know you met this gentleman yesterday. We're going to show you what happens when an inquisitive saver takes responsibility for their money and their education and comes to us to learn something more about this product called annuities. You're listening to The Worry-Free Retirement. I'm Tony Walker. We'll be right back. Have you recently retired, been laid off, or offered a pension buyout? Has the company you work for moved, been acquired, or closed its doors forever? And finally, do you have a 401k with a previous employer you'd like to move to safer territory? Then take advantage of this opportunity to move your 401k or lump sum pension to Tony Walker Financial. Let's meet in person to discuss your retirement options. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com to schedule your free, no obligation appointment. Let us help you today. Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement. Trey, in the commercial break there, you had a great point about the financial world, and instead of being ready to answer questions, which is really our job, isn't it? I mean, we're really there to see what people want. Those questions allow us to see what they're trying to accomplish, and then we are there to provide the expertise. But that's not really what's happening in much of the financial world, is it?
No, I think at this point I've probably sat in over 500 appointments with you and Savers. And I remember back to the very first appointment, I sat down and I was shocked by how many questions you asked. And what I've learned, and now almost 5 years in the industry, is that the financial world leads with answers and they don't really care to ask questions.
That's really good. So, yeah, give me an example. What have you seen lately? We talk about this on the show a lot, and it's a great idea, folks. Go ahead, Trey. What example do you have here?
Yeah, the big one right now, and it's something we're helping Savers with too, because they're coming to us, is the Roth conversion seems to be the only answer that the financial world has for anybody. And what it's doing, it's scaring people with future tax rates likely going to be higher, which we would tend to agree with. But for everyone, it's not really a good fit. So people are coming to us, and we can definitely get to the bottom of it. But if you Google anything about a Roth conversion, next thing you know, you're going to be convinced that it's right for you.
That's a really good point. So folks, yeah, there's lots of great ideas out there, but this world is not just a bunch of ideas that you just pick and choose. You got to make sure that the idea that's being pitched, in this case, Trey's talking about the answer, is the answer really fitting the question, and does it really fit you? That's what this is all about, and that's the fun part of this business. I met with someone yesterday, Trey, and they were asking about my background, and they said, "Well, what did you want to be besides this?" I said, "Well, to be honest, I've got a degree in psychology. My oldest boy is kind of in that world. My brother was in that world. My dad was in that world. I really wanted to be a counselor." And they even said it. They said, "Well, the way you ask questions and you're kind of like a counselor anyway, aren't you?" I go, "Well, I guess I am, but I figure I want to know more about you before I recommend products." And I think therein lies the problem, Trey. I don't think the financial world really is trained to understand people. They're just out peddling products. So let's talk about the couple of appointments we had yesterday, because, by the way, you're doing a fabulous job. I was telling the Bowling Green staff, I mean, the way you've been able to pick up the slack for me and continue to meet with people that are now clients, I mean, just to have an in-house fiduciary in Louisville like you, it's been amazing. So kudos to you.
I appreciate that. I'm having a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah, you're doing a magnificent job. So let's go through a scenario. So we've got someone, like a couple of the couples that came in yesterday. We've been through a second or third appointment. They've been meeting with me. Lisa or Heather or Mandy, whoever, Leanne in the Bowling Green office has been working on their income plans. We've taken time to explain the Charles Schwab, the annuities. I mean, we've gone through a lot of work. And then they finally go, "Okay, Tony, let's move forward." And we've got a routine now. I'll buzz you in the office. "Hey, Trey, you got a minute?" "Yeah." "I'm going to bring back the Johnsons, and we're going to start the rollover process." And folks, what a rollover is, that's where you have a 401k or a pension, lump sum pension, and you want to roll that over to our process at Tony Walker Financial. So first of all, go through that process, Trey, but then go through some of the common questions you get when I kind of bring them down the hall, so to speak, for you to start that rollover process.
Yeah, throughout the day yesterday, I jotted down questions. We were talking about this show, the whole concept of all these questions. So throughout the day, I kind of jotted, I think, 3 or 4 of them down. A lot of them are multi-part because there's a lot of different moving parts when we put these plans together. But the very first one, which is what you kind of touched on, was, all right, I'm ready to commit. Now, what do I have to do? And the cool thing is they don't really have to do much because we jump in and we call it the onboarding process. So with a 401k plan, that often involves a rollover phone call. There may be paperwork involved, but we call them, we get that Charles Schwab IRA set up, or whether they're doing an annuity, we have to get that rolled over into an IRA. IRA can be an annuity, which is another question we get often. But once we do that, we take it from there. They might be waiting on a rollover check that's made out to the custodian in their name. They might have pension paperwork if it's a lump sum pension.
Yeah, go over that. A gentleman yesterday, he had the pension paperwork, but I think it was dated, wasn't it? So we had to kind of walk through that, because they didn't know what to do with this pension paperwork.
Yeah, so pensions are calculated based on retirement dates and target dates that the pension has to calculate. So he had pension paperwork he requested a while back when he was considering retiring. We put a plan together for him. He's now committed to retiring this fall, and we had to recalculate his pension lump sum. So he had to request a new packet. We did the phone call with him there in the office. He didn't have to go navigate in those waters alone. And we requested that paperwork. It'll be sent to him, and then he's going to bring it in with his spouse.
The pension paperwork.
And we'll get it all signed, completed, and turned in for him. So there's nothing really that he has to do. We're going to help all along the way.
So, okay, let's kind of walk through that. So that one gentleman that has a 401k and a pension, he's going to get two separate checks, okay? Generally, for security reasons, a lot of times the custodians or the former employers, they'll send it to the... So what does the person normally do when they get that check? We've had people get $500,000 checks. Of course, they immediately want to race to us and get that check.
Yeah.
Just but explain that process. Now they've received a check. What happens next?
Yeah, it is funny. You'd wish there was more fanfare for your life savings. One of those big golf checks like on Happy Gilmore. But
where's my check?
We'll be mailing them out next week, sir.
Oh, no, I want mine now.
I don't have any checks to give.
Well, that guy got one, right? Give me one of them big ones. I don't care.
they get this little paper check and
and that's their life savings, $500,000 or whatever it is.
They've got a white knuckle death grip on that check as they walk in the office, and then we take that check. We get it put into whatever accounts that we've set up.
Which goes to our custodians. It doesn't go to Tony Walker Financial.
Correct.
Yeah.
You don't write a check out to Tony Walker Financial.
Well, I didn't mean to interrupt you because we're talking about questions. We've had people actually do that and go, oh, who do we make the check out to? Or they think they're supposed to call the custodian. Yeah, folks, don't make it out to Tony Walker Financial, but go ahead.
Yeah, or if any advisor tells you to make it out to them, run the other way.
There you go.
That is interesting. Once the money gets to the custodian, that's the next question I have is, okay, when I'm ready to start income, what do I do? And the easy thing is, often we set up a Charles Schwab IRA. We link that right to their checking account. So all they have to do is call our office and we can wire it in a matter of a few business days right to their checking account. They start getting paychecks from their Charles Schwab IRA just like they were getting paychecks from their employer.
Yeah, and I think I had a couple in yesterday, and boy, she's nervous as a cat because she has realized the cost of health insurance between now and Medicare age over the next several years, and it is a doozy. I understand that, but I said, ma'am, you're going to be fine. And I said, you've got to visualize what's happening here. You've received a paycheck from your employer all these years, and it's hit your bank account, right? I mean, it's been there, right? Yeah, okay, I get that, Tony, but no, wait a minute. All we're doing is taking all this money you all have worked so hard to save, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to withhold the taxes for you. We're going to take care of everything, and it's going to plop in your checking account every month, and we're going to make sure you have enough extra money for the next 3 years to pay the health insurance, and then Trey's going to help you get a Medicare supplement at 65. The rates should go down. But nothing really changes. We're just handling everything for you as far as the details rather than your employer. And she said, well, I guess I hadn't really thought about it that way. So yeah, it's a wonderful thing to sit down with somebody and they understand that, no, we're going to take care of everything. Folks, Tony Walker Financial, we are not just a stock brokerage firm. We're not just a financial advisor working with a big institution. We are independent fiduciaries and you are our employer. We work for you. We don't work for the banks. We don't work for the insurance companies. We don't work for Charles Schwab. We use their products, and as fiduciaries, we're going to do what we think is in your best interest to find the products that are right for you. There is no one size fits all. It takes an experienced planning firm like us to figure that out, and that's really what you're looking for. When you're out there shopping around or going to dinner seminars or Googling on the internet, you need to ask yourself this question. First of all, do these people really have my best interest at heart? Have they really done a lot of game plans? Are they relatively new to this field? And then how many full-time salaried fiduciaries and staff and experience do they have to be there for the long haul for you and your money. Well, that's us at Tony Walker Financial. And if we can be of help, let me encourage you right now to go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Log on that internet right now, TonyWalkerFinancial.com or your phone. And then when you get there, just click on that Let's Get Started button. And we'll show you what to do from there. And we can meet in person or over the phone at absolutely no cost or obligation. So if you're retired, retiring soon, got a 401k out there languishing from a former employer, or money earning that whopping 0.5% at the local bank, let us talk to you about some other options you might want to consider. TonyWalkerFinancial.com or call us at 877-499-9255, 877-499-WALK. Okay, we still have a few more minutes left. When I come back, I've still got my favorite son-in-law and fellow fiduciary, Trey Juergens, in here. And Trey, we've got to talk about this one gentleman who went to our website, downloaded our Annuities Made Easy booklet. Folks, this is a humdinger coming up. You stay tuned. I'm Tony Walker with Trey Juergens. You're listening to The Worry-Free Retirement. We'll be right back.
I keep hearing more and more the term fiduciary. What exactly is a fiduciary, and why is it important to work with one?
Well, that's a very good question, Diane. Let's first of all define what a fiduciary is. A fiduciary is someone who is required, usually by law or some sort of contract or statutory issue, to act in someone else's best interest. Now, in our world, in the financial world, a fiduciary is first symbolized by something you can verify. They were supposed to give you what's called Form ADV Part 2, and this can be found at our website at TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Besides being licensed, all of our fiduciaries are licensed as Series 65, but more importantly, this Form ADV Part 2 will disclose to you any relevant potential conflicts of interest an advisor might have, their fees, their background, everything you would need to know about that advisor. Then the second thing that happens with a fiduciary is we in our business are highly regulated. So we are constantly under what's called audit provisions, whereby sometimes government officials will come in to make sure that everything is square in terms of how we keep track of everything and how we handle other people's money. So yes, if you're going to work with an advisor, especially if it's a large sum of money, I highly encourage my clients to work with a fiduciary, not only a fiduciary that's here local, but one that has salaried, non-commissionable fiduciaries on staff that are there to service what they sell.
Tony, this has been fantastic and very informative. How do people get a hold of you if they want more answers to their questions?
Well, of course, the easiest thing to do, Diane, is go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, and we'll be happy to follow up with them.
You know, this has been invaluable information, Tony. Thank you so much for your time.
For additional information and scheduling your free, no-obligation appointment, go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com.
With the stock market at all-time highs and our nation's debt through the roof, there's a lot of uncertainty out there. Now may be the best time to safeguard more of your 401k. Let's get started today by logging on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement. Tony Walker here with my fellow son-in-law and fiduciary, Trey Juergens. And Trey, you know, one of the things we've done over the years is really work on our website. I mean, let me say this. First of all, yeah, folks, our website is about telling more about Tony Walker Financial so you can be comfortable with us. So hopefully we can do business. It's that. But what else is our website that even a website developer years ago we consulted with told us? Tell people a little bit about the extensiveness of our site.
Yeah, so 5 years ago when I started helping out part-time, one of the projects, and we've been through a couple website redesigns since then, we sat down to rebuild the website, and they were shocked at how much content we create. And that's typically in the financial world, people borrow content from other advisors or other people, and they put their commentary on it. But the amount of content that you have produced over 37 years in this industry, we had to find a website that can accommodate it all. So on our site now, we have a collection of content that answers a lot of questions, and those questions were posed by real savers. But those answers can be found. We've got our blog page, the Worry Free Retirement blog.
Now they go through the TonyWalkerFinancial.com for that, right?
Yeah, so you can go to the homepage, TonyWalkerFinancial.com. If you scroll down a little bit, you see a link to go to the blog page. If you hang on there for about 30 seconds, you'll see a little chat bot that pops up in the bottom right
Yeah, it's
corner.
got my bobblehead. You're the one answering the chat bot now. Well, stick your head up there.
That's a cooler looking logo. And then we have tons of video content. That video content can be found, some short snippets there on the blog page. We also have the educational portals there on the homepage. There's 6 of them.
So when they jump in one of those portals, like on retirement, we try to put information about retirement and then annuities and 401k rollovers.
Exactly.
Correct?
Yeah, we try to make it as easy as we can for you to find what you're looking for, because we want your questions answered. And if you are looking for annuity information, you can go to Annuities Made Easy, that portal, and you can find all kinds of videos and answers on annuity questions. So
that's a good intro into recent situations. We've met with this gentleman several times. He's with a large company here in the Louisville area. And he's a real nice gentleman. I mean, and we will walk at everybody's pace. We don't care. We want them to be comfortable. So out of the blue, this was last week, and I had a meeting scheduled with him for last night. But last week, I get this email out of the blue. It actually went to Heather in our Bowling Green office and said, I went to your website. I downloaded the Annuities Made Easy, which incidentally, folks, all these booklets are free. I mean, this is some great stuff. But anyway, I love what he did here. He downloaded it. He then, what did he call these snippets or whatever? What did he do?
He cut and pasted and snipped out little pictures and asked, I think, what was it, 11 plus questions?
Well, I've got them right here. Yeah, it's when I printed this out front and back, it's a total of, it includes our question and some graphics, but it's like over 8 pages front and back. So what he did was he just asked the questions all related to how in the world do these annuities work, Tony? That's all he wanted to know. And he took all of the pages in the booklet, which help educate people, and he pulled the questions from those, which was ingenious. Heather says, well, Tony, you want me to answer these? I said, this guy's put in all this work. I'm going to answer these myself. Of course, I knew the answers. So in about 15 minutes, I answered all the questions, sent him an email right back. He immediately emailed and said how much he appreciated it, how much he looked forward to the meeting. Well, and you were with us last night, so he and his wife came in. I think it was about 7:30 last night. We sat down, and I know you observed. And what did I immediately start doing on the whiteboard? What kept happening during that meeting? Even though I'd sent him all the questions answered in an email, what happened
So the answers to those questions sparked more questions.
Right.
He threw them back to you. You went immediately to the whiteboard, just like he's seen you do on the TV show or in previous appointments, and you answered as many questions as he had.
Yeah. And then even for the spouse, and this is very stereotypical that I say this, folks, but usually out of a couple, it could be the male, could be the female, doesn't matter. One spouse usually really has that deer in the headlights look. I can usually tell it. And at first I could tell she was watching, but she wasn't really. And remember near the end of the meeting, I said, now, ma'am, do you fully understand this? And I think she was being honest with me. She said, no, I'm starting to get it. And that was very rewarding for me, Trey, because I know, and you've seen this too, unfortunately, folks, we're not going to be here forever. And if one of those spouses, I don't care which one it is, male or female, if one of you all passes away, and the one that passes away knows something about money, and usually there is one spouse that predominantly takes care of the finances, you're going to possibly leave that other spouse truly in the dark. And here's the worst part, folks. That other spouse that remains behind is left with a situation that is intimidating, that they don't understand, and that potentially, if they don't have an advisor they can trust, they're going to be thrown to the wolves in terms of advice. So here's what I would suggest right now. If you're like this one gentleman that took the time to go to the website and download that Annuities Made Easy, if you're sitting there saying, Tony, I really do want to take the time to learn and understand this stuff before I just go blindly trusting others with my life savings, take the time to do it. We are set up to answer your questions. If you are a saver, and you're retired or retiring soon, folks, we know this world very well. So do this right now. Take advantage of talking to us by phone or in person. We have 3 offices throughout Kentucky in Bowling Green, Lexington, and Louisville, Kentucky. We have 4 full-time fiduciaries. We are here to help. So go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Click on that Let's Get Started, and let's get started talking. Or you can just call us right now at 877-499-9255. That's 877-499-WALK. Well, Trey, we've enjoyed being with you. Guess what I'm going to talk about next week? May have to have you back on. how the 401k process works and how you can start enjoying your money now rather than later. Sound like good stuff?
All right.
All right. Well, we'll see you next week, folks, on the Worry-Free Retirement. You make it a good day.